It is about that time. Jeff Johnson got 3 things you need to know. Happy New Year. What up, Jeff?
Hey, what's up, brother? Happy New Year. How are you?
Man, blessed, man. Happy to have you this morning. I know you got a whole bunch of stuff.
Good to be on, man. So, a story that I'm finding really interesting is this story about President Biden having classified documents in his personal office. And this is something that is just now being investigated. So there's no charges coming. There's not details even about the documents themselves. But the reality is these were documents that supposedly came from when he was vice president and were found in a personal office. And what's interesting to me, Rick, is that I just think it's interesting that we are surprised that any of these folks don't take documents. I mean, when you have this level of, I know that the protocol is you are supposed to relinquish all documents that are classified to a certain level once you no longer are serving in office. But people who have been in office, as long as Biden have been in office, and the level of security clearance that they've had, I'm just not surprised by this. I think what's going to be interesting is what the Attorney General ultimately decides to do. And he's asked for one of the folks from the Department of Justice to start the investigation. But I'll be interested to see what happens as a result of that. Second thing that I find really interesting, man, is this Prince Harry book that comes out today. It's supposed to be just filled with a whole lot of just straight up tea about the royal family, about how he feels about his brother. He calls his brother his arch enemy. He teases him about his early balding. I mean, he goes in a real way about stuff that he believes is kind of hitting back from his family attacking him. But I don't know, Rick. At some point, it just seems like it's just about money. Because if you told your side of the story with Oprah, you told your side of the story in this Netflix documentary, you told your side of the story with these other interviews, how much more of the story you got to tell before this just becomes about, let me get this bag. And I'm not mad if he wants to get the bag, but it's crazy when you see this kind of media hype around someone that is legitimately positioning themselves as a victim of this monarchy, but at the same time is incredibly privileged himself. And so, with all that is happening in the world, it's going to be interesting to me to see if at some point this doesn't start being falling back on him in a negative way. In what's a much more important story, and before I get out of here, there is this interesting story about a brother who is set to be executed on February 7th. Leonard S. Taylor was sentenced to death in a quadruple murder in 2004. But now there are witnesses, Rick, that are saying that he was 1,800 miles away from the murder. And so it's going to be, I think that there is potentially going to be a stay of execution, which doesn't mean that he won't be executed, but it does mean that he may not be executed on February 7th. And Rick, I'm just in a place. One, I think the death penalty, I don't think the death penalty makes sense in a criminal justice system that one shows how much corruption it has,
right,
and how many things it gets wrong.
Right.
I understand how families feel when somebody's been murdered and they want an eye for an eye, but we just live in a country that gets it wrong too much for that kind of finality to be something that we feel comfortable administering. And so, I'm for life in jail if you deserve it. But I think we got to get to a place where we just get rid of the death penalty in this country, because we don't get small cases right. And there's just too much corruption, too much DNA evidence that comes back years later that says they got the wrong person for us to think that the death penalty should be a viable option, let alone the fact that I continue to believe that it's inhumane. But we'll see, more importantly, what happens for Brother Taylor. And we should know in the coming days whether there'll be a stay of execution or whether he will actually be executed on February 7th. Those are things I got for you, brother. Y'all can hit me at Jeff's Nation on IG. Love you, brother. Happy New Year again, man. I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Hey, man, love you too, Jeff. Appreciate you, man. Jeff Johnson.